Hello, beautiful agents of awesome. Coming to you live for Optimum Wellbeing Friday. I hope you're all doing fabulously well. So, lots to touch in about at the moment. But one of the main things I wanted to do was, first of all, check in with you guys. We're in such intense times. Doesn't matter where you are in the world right now. This is such an incredible time. How are you? How is it going? How are you navigating? These times. Is everything pretty much the same for you? Has your life been turned on its head? It's a good day. Every day is a good day to check in, but particularly a day where we're discussing optimum well-being, I feel is an ideal day to touch base and simply see how y'all doing. So I'm doing pretty well. Thank you very much on my end. And thoroughly enjoying our garden outside, and we have our little seedlings popping up, and we've been doing some marvelous gardening here and there and chasing the bush turkeys out and having a bit of fun with that. And we're celebrating here over in our end of Australia because some parks open today, so I got to go out with my little one and have a bit of playtime park fun after so long, and it was just wonderful to see so many kids and parents about just hanging out in a playground and having a marvelous time and laughing and all of that. So yeah, how are you checking in, wanting to see how it's going in your part of the world? And wanting to have a conversation too today about happiness set points and, and how they can be helpful in actually riding out these waves. We don't know how many of these waves are going to come. It's like, you got to be a surfer, and we're kind of like being surfers with tsunamis around, right? So how do we ride out these times and do it with some level of grace, some level of sanity, and hopefully some marvelous level of positivity? That's what I want to touch in on, because there's no shortage of things that can make us feel at this point in time like we're sinking. Just like many of you out there, I've also got friends in different parts of the world who have some of the most heart-wrenching stories currently about what's going on. I've been brought to tears many times hearing people's stories about what is happening out there, and the elderly being left on their own and people ending their lives, and just the loneliness that is out there for so many, and the deep sadness that is there. And so those things and the grief that can surround that, it's so easy to make us feel like we're sinking in this big ocean with no end in sight, right? So how is it that we can navigate these times of this big unknown ocean with these big occasional tsunamis that come past, and sometimes feeling like there's no kind of rescue boat in sight or safe landing space? How do we navigate them well? I'd love to hear your comments about what's been working for you during these times. Have you found certain techniques or ways of being have really helped you through these times? Maybe you've noticed it in some of the people around you that have been positive influences through this time. Maybe a shift has happened in a way that you are being, a way that you are approaching, or a powerful choice that you have made. Those things would be really wonderful to hear about. So if you're joining us live, if you're watching the playback, pop those into the comments, because as people watch and read, we all contribute to each other in this, and you never know, one thing that someone writes, someone else might just go wow over. So it's always really cool how that happens. So happiness set points. There's this thing apparently called a happiness set point, and the idea is that we have a level, if you will, where regardless of what happens, how high and amazing things in life get or how deep down they go, that eventually we return to some medium level in there that is our own personal happiness set point, and that varies for person to person. And there's been some interesting studies done around the happiness set point, particularly with lottery winners, finding that, you know, of course, that's the ideal question, right? If you win the lottery, what would you do? And, you know, we can each go into how all the different ways that we might change our lives or be able to do more things with friends, family, etc., and for others. But what they found is that people who have these peak moments like that, like winning the lottery, where supposedly life is meant to change drastically and everything is better, that after about 1 year, each of those people usually return to about the same level of what they self indicated as their level of happiness at the time when that happened. So that's what they're talking about with their happiness set point. You can even win the lottery and shoot high for some time, or maybe you go fall in love, or, you know, something marvelous happens. There's a birth in your family or in your life, you know, something incredible happens. And then over time, about a year or so, no matter how incredible that is, we naturally within our own psyches tend to return to that happiness set point that we operate on most of the time. So that's the idea of the happiness set point. Now, the really good news with this is that apparently we have the ability to raise, to influence, to shift and adapt our happiness set point. And so how do we do that is the key, right? How do we, you know, do you wake up one day and think, oh, I'm going to change it? How does it occur? So yes, it starts with a powerful decision, right? That happiness set point is something that you consciously wish to work on and increase and raise, right? So the intention comes first. The next powerful part of that is knowing what is that state of being that you want to inhabit? What is that state of being for you that represents an increased happiness set point? And it doesn't have to be like, you know, a totally phenomenal, mind-blowing level of happiness. If anything, the easiest way to do this is to go very incrementally. What is the next little step that would bring in that little extra piece of joy within my life, that would bring me more happiness, that would make me more happy or cause more happiness, right? Just like you tend to the beautiful gardens and the soils, we create the environment for the plant to grow. And so in the same way, we can't force happiness, but we can certainly create the circumstances and the environment to facilitate the potential of more happiness arising from that. So it's really important to understand, you know, to ask ourselves, what does that feel like for me? What does that look like for me? If you haven't done that before, to take a moment and sink deeply into that life. What is that like for me? Raising my happiness set point. What do I want my day to look like? To play the day out from morning, noon, and night, and to really vibe into what your life might look like if that happiness set point is raised somewhat. So as you do that and you connect in with that feeling that is there and that state of being, this is the next key to raising that and enhancing that set point. And a really great way to do that as well, and to make it, well, is to make it fun. So as you're visioning what that is for you, as you're feeling into that and raising that, intentionally raising that happiness set point, to spice it up, make it fun, put things in there that you know make you laugh, that you enjoy, that are playful, that, you know, if you had all the time in the world, these are the things that you would choose doing, that maybe you know, that sparked joy in you as a kid, that maybe have nothing to do with your life right now, but you just think would be fun. So to infuse your visioning and your feeling with all of those things, it doesn't mean you have to go out and plan all of these things. But right now, in terms of the exercise, it's in feeling into it, right? And as you carry out that feeling as a consistent thing, that becomes what we call a state of being. So sinking into that state of being, right, with a raised happiness set point now, how would you define that? Are there words that come to you now that you're in this state of being? Is it joy? Is it delight? Is it freedom? Is it expression? Is it creativity? Is it love? Is it abundance? Like, what is that for you? Can you name what that state of being feels like for you? And if you're doing this lifetime with me right now and you're sinking into it, pop those words in here, make it powerful, make that commitment to yourself, play along with me here. So these are the ways that we can help raise that happiness set point. Okay, so we're making a conscious choice. We're then moving into that vision, that feeling, that desire, leaning into what that might look like for us. And then now we're actively playing in it, right? Actively playing in it, fleshing it out a bit more and naming it and putting some kind of a, grasping it somewhere. That's what language is so cool with. Language helps us to just grab something that, is quite free floating and moving. So find that word, if you can, that crystallizes it a little bit or that expresses it. And this is the next part that I really, really love. And this is how I work with people as well. And this is always the exciting part for me, and where we have fun, because you never know what's going to come out in this next piece. This is where I ask people, and I'm going to ask the same of you, whoever's watching this, is how do you want to make that a reality in your life more and more? What is it that you can do in your environment to set up reminders for yourself about that? So this is where people come up with cool suggestions like, I'm going to change all of my bed sheets to pink and have big pink fluffy things in my bedroom, or I'm going to wear a cape, or I'm going to get a particular piece of jewelry that has this symbol on it, or I'm just going to wear this color because this color makes me feel this way, right? It can be, or I'm going to go out in my garden and do artwork and, go tend to my flowers and be with the creative spirits and, flower spirits out there. Whatever it looks like for you, whatever action comes as a result of tapping into that state, that is a marvelous practice to put into place and to take action on immediately. And this is also a really cool state. This is a really cool part of the process, this piece here, because often things will come to people and the first reaction is like, oh, no, this sounds really weird, or that might be silly, or I can't do that. If those are suggestions that are coming up for you right now, that's exactly what I would encourage you to go and do. Allow yourself to be playful, allow yourself to lean into that desire and that joy, and allow that part of you that is like a lover calling you forward into it. It's more joy, it's more happiness. This is your own self reflecting back to you in terms of your greater well-being and joy and happiness. Allow yourself to lean in and merge into this and to listen to it and hear from it these wonderful suggestions that are going to bubble forth. Embrace it if it's weird and wacky, even better. So again, those of you that are with me live or watching this, let me know if something pops forward for you now in terms of what action will you take on that? What is the state? What is the word to describe that state? And then what is the action that's going to make that even stronger in your world and to ground it? It's a grounding exercise, right? Because we're going from the desired state and the emotional, and we're opening up and we're channeling in, that greater well-being. But it's really important because we are human beings having a very physical earth experience. It's so important that we find a way to trickle into us all of that amazing goodness that is, it's like this. It's like you can't quite grab it, but it's all beautiful and it's out there. And how do we bring that all in to something physical and manifest, like seeds that you can plant in the ground, or these physical reminders that you can put all around you that continually, when you see them, when you interact with them, when you feel them, that continually serve as reminders of that greater desire that you're leaning into. So I hope this is all making sense right now. I get so excited about these things, as you can tell, and I love it even more when it's live time with people. These Facebook lives are great, but boy, do I enjoy working with a group of people together and having these lifetime conversations and hearing you live in terms of your comments and reactions. So that's a piece on how, that's the how piece, right? On how we can raise our happiness set point. And Naturally, when we do that, we rise. We rise. This is how it works, right? We make conscious choices for greater well-being, to be in our optimum well-being, to be a well-being that is at the best of how we can be, whatever that looks like as we continually shift and evolve. So embracing that nature, and it's an evolving process, right? There is no final gate, there's no magical golden gate at the end of this that is like, you have arrived, you have attained and achieved the goal. No, we are constantly evolving and shifting beings. And so as we expand and I'm doing this action, you can give me a word for it, I'm not quite sure, but as we kind of expand and move even more into who we are, our relationships with others, this world that we are living in. I mean, hey, this world we are living in and the times that we are living in, right? They constantly evolve and shift, as we are seeing right now. So we are so powerful as individuals and as collectives, right? We are so powerful in our ability to make these conscious choices, to work with this vehicle that we've been given and all of the intelligent design that is part of the process, to work with it, harmonize it, focus it, expand it, and lean into it, right? There's so many delicious ways we can work with it. So again, I'd love to hear from you. Is this a choice? Is this a practice that you do? Is it something that you would like to do for yourself? How's it all sounding to you? And as we do that, there's something very natural that happens in our own well-being, in our own joy, because we've made a powerful decision to choose joy, to choose happiness. And when you make that powerful choice, and you really make the choice, right? It's not like a flippant, yeah, I want that. No. I'm talking about a commitment, right? And you're the only person that knows. You've got to be honest with yourself in this process. You are the only person that knows if you have truly made that commitment: mind, body, spirit. And so if we're able to make that really powerful commitment, what happens is we've made a choice to align with a frequency, right? So again, that's why I was asking, what are you leaning into when you think of raising your happiness set point, as you vision it, as you dream into it, as you lean into it? What are the words that come to you? Joy, creativity, freedom, compassion, etc. All of those are states of being, and all of those states of being have their own particular frequency. You know this about certain people, right? You can easily identify, if I say the word to you, fun, pop, 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 I bet you can think of at least one, if not three people who embody this spirit of fun, right? Now, they might not have made a conscious choice to do that, but that is part of a frequency that they have aligned with, and everything in their lives carries that vibe about it. Or maybe they have made a powerful choice at some moment in time to do that. Or if I say to you the word peace, again, boom, I bet you can think of at least one, maybe a few people who embody to you that sense, that frequency of peace. And what happens when you're around someone who has embodied a frequency is that you feel it too, right? You can't be around someone who is so incredibly zen and peaceful, and and not be affected by them in some way. Maybe if you're around them and you're in a really pissed off mood, it might make you even more pissed off, because you're like, why are they always so zen about things, right? But you're still feeling that vibration and that frequency. You get the point, right? And so the beauty of this is when we choose these powerful states of being and we align with them, and we consciously not only intend them and bring them in, but we incorporate them into our everyday. And we do that by our powerful intentions, by our actions, our commitments, and then putting it into the physical, right? In as many ways possible, so that we are continually reminded by it. As we do that, we become that more and more. And so as you choose to raise, enhance, your happiness set point, you will see the impact you will have on others around you. If, true to your own state, you have enhanced that and increased that, and you are living within that frequency and vibration, because it is contagious. These things are contagious and they affect one another. You might, mind you though, see some what should I say? You might see some shifts that might actually throw people off a bit, particularly when we're in very set family and group dynamics where everyone has their role and their frequency and their vibration. And when one person within that system decides to shift, it can kind of really unsettle others, and some, you know, other issues can occur there. But that's a whole other big discussion to have. So for now, the talk for today is really about focusing in, consciously choosing to be a powerful co-creator in the state that you are inhabiting, in the vibration that you are holding, in your frequency on this planet. Knowing that you have the power to increase your happiness set point. You might have been born someone who feels a bit like Eeyore the donkey, right? Someone in Agents of Awesome here said Eeyore needs a big hug, you know, and yes, Eeyore does need a big hug. And if you're feeling like Eeyore, give yourself a big hug, be around loving people, go hug, maybe not folks out of the street, because we're not meant to do that right now, but you get the idea, right? Self-love, love for others. And knowing that we can be those powerful creators in shifting our own reality, right? So we've talked about the process and the how to do that. It's all lined out there. It's actually pretty simple at the end of the day. What helps is repetition, understanding the process, repetition, and application, just doing it again and again. And look, what I'm sharing with you here is what I have found works with me. It works with people that I work with, and has, you know, been developed over time. But you, as you walk into your mastery with this, you will make the adaptations needed and the tweaks needed where you know, when I do that piece of it that way, it's even more powerful for me, or it's faster for me. So those are all excellent, excellent, excellent. And again, if you've got gorgeous consciousness hacks on those pieces, pop them in the chat so that we can all share and benefit from understanding more of the process and what works. Because as you know from the conversations here as well, we all have different gifts and things work differently for different people. I have my own biases, I have my own personality, I have my own lenses, and so I can only share with you within my own constraints and limitations. So, you know, share with one another, because there is gold to be mined within the community. And yes, so how we raise it during these times, how we can rise, we've discussed all of that, and not sink, because there's a whole heap to think about, but we don't need to sink, do we? We have, you know, we have one another. And I don't want to skip over grief. I'm not denying grief. I'm not, you know, trying to suppress any heaviness, sadness, anger, frustrations that arise during this time. I am a total fan of acknowledging fully whatever comes forward in terms of thoughts, emotions, images, situations. I'm like, you know, that's how I operate. I'm like, great, here it is, let's welcome it. How do we work with it? So I'm not saying a denial of any of those things is how to do this. Not at all. That's actually really, really important. And as you can be real with what I call the molasses, it feels like molasses, just wading through that molasses sometimes. But when you can get real with the shit that, you know, that life brings sometimes, and just be with it, you know, as it is, acknowledge it, thank it, try and sift some wisdom from it, if at all possible, and thank it if at all possible for all of that. That's another journey in itself. But if we can be real with it, that is actually incredibly helpful in even more powerfully expanding and lifting and raising into that delicious, you know, expanded happiness set point or joyful point, or whatever, again, whatever that kind of word is for you, that desired state of being. It's all part of the process. It's all part of the picture. And also, as we align even more powerfully into these optimum states for our own well-being, it's inevitable that the pieces that don't match that frequency are going to rise up, and they will rise up for acknowledgement. Maybe they will rise up because they don't want us to shift. You know, our psyche is a very complex thing. It has many moving parts and pieces. And so there can be one part of us that is desiring something and leaning into something and being so focused and devoted to a process. And another part of us is like, I don't think so. That ain't going to happen, right? So this can happen within our own being, and you're not going crazy if that happens. This is a healthful, wholesome part of being a robust human being. It's actually incredibly dynamic and exciting, in my opinion. Maybe not when we're in it, but certainly, you know, when we're able to flesh it out a bit. So yeah, let us know your thoughts on all of this. The most important part for me in terms of connecting in with you today on Optimum Wellbeing Friday is, as always, a check-in. These are intense times. They are really intense times. And we're all having our own experience as we navigate it. So I want to make sure you're okay. You know, I want you to let this community know. Feel free to reach out to me privately if you feel more comfortable doing that. Use this community, use this space. Let us know if there's any way that we can help. And yeah, I love you all. Thank you for being here. A beautiful welcome to all of our newest members. Thank you. I hope you're enjoying this space. And of course, big, big hugs and love to all of our gung-ho members who are always sharing the love and good vibrations. Peace, and till we speak the next time.